And in theory, we are live. So how it works is going to be we do try to look at all questions, but if you do a super thanks, so if you basically throw a few bucks our way, we're going to get to that first because it would be really rude if the people who paid were never gotten to. So we do have to go after those first and answer those first because we figure if they're paying for it, then we kind of owe them a little bit more since they're doing that. Do we seem all live and good, Ken?
Yep, we're live and good. Well, we're live. Good. I'm trusting we'll be good.
You see the first question come up, we can get to that, and that'll be good. And one thing I'm going to tell you, though, a little very small commercial before we get going is to subscribe to Coach Ken and his YouTube channel, and be careful, you don't leave the super chat right now, but it's youtube.com/ is it Real Coach Ken?
Yeah, should be it.
Real Coach Ken, just like that. And he is approaching a milestone. He's about to hit 4,000 subscribers, and he's only like 100 and little over 100 short. So if he gets there tonight, we will just be so happy. Won't we, Ken?
That'd be kind of cool. That would be cool. Yeah, if you go to youtube.com @Coach Ken, that's me.
YouTube.com. So if we throw in the handle that's new that YouTube started doing a month or two ago, which is awesome, it's just Coach Ken.
At Coach Ken, yeah.
Super. YouTube.com /@Coach Ken. So be sure to subscribe to Coach Ken. He has great content on breakups and also on personality disorders and other things that I don't get into as much. And as a matter of fact, not nearly as much. And that's one of the strengths that he definitely brings to our team. All right. We have any questions yet, Ken?
See, looking now. Yeah, we got one. Let me see. All right. We got my ex just recently broke no contact to return my stuff. She didn't give me all my stuff back, and she gave me 2 gifts with it she already purchased. One a ring, and the other is a Hershey's chocolate kiss.
So what's the question?
I'm wondering if he wants to know if he should. Yeah. Then he followed it up. Should I contact her?
Oh, okay.
That's a pretty warm open door.
So she sent him gifts, or she brought them, or did he say?
Recently, she broke no contact to return his things, and not only did she not give him back all of his things, almost like she's holding on to something, but she did give him 2 gifts that she'd purchased, and one was a ring, and one was a Hershey's chocolate kiss.
Okay.
Which clearly that's the kind of thing you do when you've broken up with somebody and you're determined to move on. You go out and buy him a present and a Hershey's kiss just to confuse the hell out of them on the way out the door.
And that's sarcasm.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
I would not contact her because even though she did that, she still hasn't said, I want to start talking. She hasn't started taking action to contact you. I mean, she brought you gifts. It could even be she feels guilty and she gave you those. However, giving you the kiss, the Hershey's kiss, that's pretty romantic. So I think it's a good sign, but if I were you, I would wait and let her come to you more than that. And she's made a step, which usually there's some momentum there. So it's a great question because it is kind of perplexing, but that's what I would wait her out, but know that that's a really good sign, really good clue.
Yeah.
What do you think, Ken?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's almost worse because when somebody leaves a door that warm open, no contact is hard enough. And now you're going to have your mind telling you, but she got me a Hershey's kiss, but she got me a present. I need to reach out. I need to. But if you go back that quickly and that easily, most of the time they're going to put you through it again. So they need to take breaking up with you seriously. They need to at least be able to articulate that they regret the breakup. That's not asking too much.
Yeah, exactly. So good question, but I'd hold out. It's a good sign. So for those late nights when you're wondering about it, she's definitely feeling something that she would not be feeling if she did not want to get back together with you. So what's the next question, Ken? I think we got that one sewed up.
Yeah, well, I need to say a quick thank you to Michaela. She sent a $20, but she didn't have a question attached to it. But thank you for that, Michaela.
Thank you very much. Michaela, is that her name?
Yeah. Yeah.
Shout out to Michaela. Thank you so much. Really appreciate what a kind gesture. It's very encouraging. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Let me see. The next one we got. Yeah, I think that's the only super chat. Let me see. Hi, Coach. I kissed with my ex at our work. She asked me that day to come over and later flaked. Today she reached out to me with an indirect direct. Should I ask her out or wait on the next message? I don't know.
So
But
usually if it's not a direct message to you, so for example, social media, if it's a like or if it's a comment that's not speaking directly to you or is only talking about the subject that you posted about, or if it's a message through a friend, unless it is directly like call me. But otherwise, unless it is directly to you, and that can be online, they could send an email, they could send a message through social media, or they could text you. That's when you respond. But if it's indirect, then it's not the same thing, and it's going to make it look like you were leaning much harder toward them and ready to fall at any second for a little bitty thing, a little bitty crumb from their table. You're going to jump up and down like a happy puppy to get something to eat. So, got to hold out there. Sorry, I know it's not what you guys want to hear. I'm just being honest because I want this to work for everybody. So, Ken.
yeah, and hopefully, I know it's easy to say in a super chat, and I know like me and Lee both have been through heartbreak. Believe me. And when somebody's giving you just enough attention, it feels like sometimes it feels like what we're telling you to do. It's like you're swimming towards the island and you feel like you're drowning to death, and then you finally see land. And what we're telling you to do is now turn your back on the island and swim back out into the ocean. That's the right move. So you're getting some good contact, but what she's doing is kind of toying with you. And she's proving that she can have your affection and she can have your attention whenever she wants it. That's not a relationship. I mean, to be cheesy, that's a manipulation ship. You don't want that kind of thing. So stay strong. Like Coach Lee said, again, having them articulate that they regret the breakup is not asking for too much. It's a minimal boundary of respect. If they can't do that, then they're not going to value enough to treat you with respect when they come back.
Exactly. And it's similar to if somebody, let's say they reject you for a kiss, hug, something more than that, and they do it a lot, and eventually you kind of have to stick up for yourself and you have to be distant because if you cross over that middle line, if you can, see my hands and these are two people and they're intimate right here, right? This is intimacy. But if they do this, if you cross over, there's sort of this invisible line, and this is where obsession and stalking, that's what that is. So you have to know where the line is and you can't cross it. You have to stay until they get there again. And sometimes that even means you got to do this for your own self if they're over here. They have to know you're not even at the middle line anymore. So think about that when you're hearing us answer questions because we're not just being uh, you know Debbie Downers here.
Yeah. And it's not like one thing I've always liked about working with Lee, and I'm assuming he feels the same way about me. Guys like Andrew Tate, not to give him free press, but they're good at drawing reasonable boundaries. They just take it too far. So when me and Lee are saying, "Hey, look, hold out for a reasonable amount of regret," let them articulate that they miss you, that they made a mistake. We're not trying to say it's not false bravado. It's not. You don't need that. Come on, make her come back and really beg for it, or it's nothing douchebag. It's just a minimal boundary. It's a minimal amount of respect. That's all.
Right. Basic, a standard, Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the next one if there's a next one.
All right. Got Gingy Girl. I share 3 young kids with my ex-husband. He invested a lot of time and money in us, calls and texts a lot. But after we're intimate, I get upset about him not about him not committing, and then he pulls away. That's a tough one.
Yeah, it's understandable. And he is the ex-husband.
Yeah.
And she said our kids, right?
Yeah.
So, sex is tricky. Sounds like a new song, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's a bit of a double-edged sword, and I'm just rolling with the puns right now. But so Um, it brings you closer. There's no doubt about that. Brings the release of oxytocin, dopamine, and some other chemicals that cause you to feel close to this person. And so that's a good thing. However, in the wrong context, it can become cheap. It can cause really hurt feelings. When it's in the right context, it creates and maintains intimacy, and the other person feels loved and appreciated. So it's tricky because it could bring you two closer together, and he could say, okay, I'm ready to get married again, which is, I'm assuming that's what you want, because it's not usual for people who are divorced to be sleeping together. It happens, and I know Ken could attest to that with all the coaching that he does. And I don't do as much as I used to, but I used to do thousands of calls, over a 2 or 3 year period. And I heard a lot of stories like that. So the question though was sort of, what do you do when he gets upset because you're wanting more than just that? You're wanting that commitment again, which means he does not right now, or he would go after it. He would want to be reconnected with you, and he'd want to get back together. And there's the issue, is that he doesn't. And so you're telling him you do, and it makes him feel guilty. It brings up something he doesn't want to bring up. So I have a couple of suggestions for you, and this is a bit of a Rubik's cube, and there's no one size fits all, and it's a wild card. It could go multiple ways, but I would not bring that part up because since we are triune beings, we're mind, body, and spirit. When our mind and our emotions, which are sort of where our spirit and our body intersect together with our mind, we call that emotions. When they're not on the same page, when we have to face it logically, it can really be a negative. But we can feel it. And we can feel that exact thing on the emotional scale. And it's a form of cognitive dissonance where there's conflicting things going on inside of us. And that's probably what's going on, because he's still coming over to the house. He's sleeping with you. He's seeing his kids there. So in many ways, he's being that husband and that dad. So one suggestion I would have with you is that I know that this is more complicated than a lot of people are going to make it out to be. So I'm not going to say to just absolutely stop sleeping with him. You probably don't want to absolutely stop, but I would make it less frequent without causing strife. I would try to plan around it so that maybe it doesn't happen as often. Something, because he needs to feel some things are missing. Right now, he's getting everything that he would want out of a marriage. He's getting to see you, he's getting to see the kids and kind of feel like some of that guilt is relieved. He's also getting sex. So we want him to start feeling some of the things he's not getting and seeing some of that. And so that means there needs to be some things that are not done. So I would suggest you back off on that a little bit and don't mention it to him. If I don't know how often you're mentioning it, but I would definitely say try not to mention it often. I know you're thinking about it and you want to, but try to back off of that. And the more you mention it, you're probably going to push him away because he's not there yet. So it's sort of like, this line again, if he backs off and you're crossing over to where he is trying to get him to where you two are that close again, it's going to feel very awkward to him and frustrating. And so there needs to be some things that he's missing. At the same time, I do not suggest that you try to tell him that, you got to miss some things, or I'm taking some things away. It's sort of like using a little bit of a scalpel here instead of a sledgehammer. Ken, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think I feel for the person asking that question. I understand that's a
Oh yeah.
complicated situation, but and I promise I'm not here for the most part to push calls. I mean, obviously I like having clients and I like doing calls, but really there's just more details you need to know. For instance, the good version is he's not certain. Maybe he felt disrespected. Maybe he didn't feel wanted, and maybe he just felt like he needed space. But there's still enough of a connection there he gets around home, he gets around you and the kids, and he falls back into that connection. But then he pulls back because he knows, hey, this doesn't work long term, and then he goes away. That's not a good thing, but it's more understandable. On the other hand, he could be a complete manipulator. He could be coming home to have sex with you and still spending time and investing with the kids. But then after he has sex with you, just jumps in the car and has another night with another woman,
Yeah.
maybe another woman the next weekend. So it's not as easy as it seems sometimes, right? There's the good guy version, bad guy version, and then something in between. So details are going to matter. Why the divorce happened might matter. So it's kind of hard to take a shot with certainty, but like the advice he gave you is good, solid advice to take. But if you know he's a bad guy and he left your place and left you crying in bed and he's going to go bang his girlfriend, then I'd say pull back. You're not going to, you don't prove worth by tolerating disrespect. You just prove you're not worthy of respect. So don't do that. You know the situation better than we do in terms of those details, but I hope that helps some.
Yeah, and suggest a coaching call. There are so many details. As I was giving my answer, I was thinking of so many questions I had. If you book a call with Ken, and the info is right there on the screen opposite Ken, there's a lot of questions he's going to be able to ask you, and it's going to be a lot more effective. So I just can't recommend any stronger that you book that call, because there's probably 15 or 20 things he's going to want to know. And then he's going to be able to give you a definite plan, and it's going to make a lot of sense, and it works a lot. So there's a link to book that call. But I really thank you for the question, and I'm sorry you're going through this, and I'm confident that Ken can help you get to where you want to be. Let's move on to the next one, though, Ken.
Hey, man, thanks. Hey, I was wondering if the no contact rule works on someone you were dating, but not in a relationship with. I guess not in an exclusive relationship with. I was with her for 2 months and it was very passionate, but yeah, we were never official. And also Isabella says Coach Lee is so hot. But sorry, back to the question.
You should probably answer that one.
Yeah. Yes. So 2 months of not being exclusive, but being very passionate.
Yeah. So the short answer is yes. Any kind of romantic relationship, which that would be even if you weren't exclusive, it all comes down to what people want and what people are afraid to lose, and them being aware of those two things. And so if he was enjoying his time with you, if he felt close to you, there was a connection, great conversations, great experiences, and he loses it and feels like that he couldn't get it back, that's where we get traction. And no, that's not the only thing. I talk about it a lot. Most of my videos I talk about it, but there's a lot more. No contact is really just the beginning. So the short answer is yes. And if he does start interacting with you again, that's where you can begin to slowly move closer. And that's where it gets really complicated. But yes, especially, did she say how long the relationship was?
2 months, and it was very passionate. 2 months and very passionate.
Okay. Yeah. The short answer is still yes.
Yeah.
And I will pass it over to Ken.
No, I agree with you. And a lot of this isn't theory me and Lee are talking about, right? It's been proven. There's like a primal mechanism inside of people. And when somebody gives you a high sense of value and importance, or like you said, passion, consistently, and then suddenly they stop, it throws you into like a tailspin. It's a feeling that they estimate to be something worse than hysteria. That's what we feel when somebody breaks up with us. The reason no contact works, it's basically taking that and flipping it on its head. You're turning the tables. The person who just dropped you in value expects you to chase, to hurt, to want to be with them, because that's a normal reaction. When you go into no contact and you follow the plans that Lee has in his videos, then what you're really essentially doing is you're activating that same mechanism in them. Suddenly the person that they thought was going to be there isn't chasing after them. And it triggers that same kind of inner panic, that same kind of, maybe I made a mistake. And it causes reevaluation and reexamination. So give yourself a chance. But your feelings and emotions don't know if you were technically together or not. They just know what they like. Boom.
That was a good answer.
Thanks, man. You too. All right. We got, let's see. Boom, 15. Wow. Okay. 15 years together, 4 married. Husband left 1 month ago. We have a teen. He comes by and picks up. Do I still wear my wedding ring? When no contact work, even though he moved out, and he's possibly depressed because of daddy issues.
So they're still married. They're not divorced. He just left.
Yeah, that's what
Right.
it doesn't say they're divorced since he moved out a month ago. He left a month ago.
Okay. Then I would keep the wedding ring on. You're doing at the moment, you're standing for the marriage. He's running away. He's left, but you're standing for the marriage, which means you still you still show that with your ring. So I would keep the ring on. And this is another one of those cases. There's so many questions that I have. We just don't have the answers. But I guess that was the only question about the wedding ring, right? I,
Yeah.
if that's the case, I mean, I
Well,
don't need
and
to do it
will
again,
no
but
contact. Yeah, will no contact work even though he moved out? And
okay.
yes, right.
And of course, when you're married, it's smart contact. It's strategic contact. And I have a video about that. If you were to search my channel, as a matter of fact, I can get the link. I'll pull up the link here for you, and I'll put it in the chat. But it's called strategic contact, and it's for people who are married. And
Yeah.
it's because you can't. It's much more difficult to be in full no contact, especially. She said they have kids, or did she say that? Yeah, a
Yeah.
teen. Yeah, they have a teen.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
you're not going to be able to just do no contact. You're going to have to interact with him, and there's some important parts of that. So if you just go, I have a playlist for married people, as a matter of fact, and there's a specific video that's called Strategic Contact. So check those out, and that should definitely give you some answers on that. But some of the info is that when you talk to him, do your best to keep it strictly business, and by business I mean about the child, the teenager, your house. If you two own things together like a business or property, that's what you talk about. You're friendly, you're calm, you're polite, but you keep it to that. And your goal here is to have positive interactions. The temptation will be for you to get into issues, and I understand that. There will be a time for that. It's not right now, not while you're trying to reattract, not while you're trying to heal. I wish I knew some of the things that had happened. I wish I knew why he left, what was said, what had happened before that. But if you will do your best to have positive interactions with him that are brief and about that topic, the odds are pretty good he's going to start talking about the relationship a little bit, not necessarily like your future together, but he's going to say some things like maybe that he misses you, or he's going to remember some time you were together, or he's going to say something flirty. And it's okay to respond. Just don't go beyond what he says. You want to try to be basically eye level with him. You want to have the same pace. But I highly suggest you watch the strategic contact video. I also have the emergency marriage kit, and I would highly recommend, though, that of all that you book a call with Ken, and he's got a ton of questions. So especially if you have the marriage questions, please give us as much info as you can, without going overboard. But that's my answer for that.
Yeah. I like that. I would add there is some good news, right? On average, if he's a good man, right? On average, men stay emotionally connected twice as long as the length of the relationship. Women on average, I'm not doing a blanket statement here, but women on average, it's half the length of the relationship. So one of the positives about being together that long, unless he's a high functioning narcissist or like a psychopath, then it's not possible that you're just gone. Even if you really hurt him, it's not really possible that he just doesn't have any feeling for you. So don't buy that feeling of hopelessness. It's supposed to feel hopeless, but you'll hear me only say this a lot. We heard it from the guy that trained us. Feelings are very real, but that doesn't make them true. So have some faith. Just give yourself permission to hope.
Yeah, and what he said there, it's generally true about the connection being felt differently and for different times for men and women. Don't get me wrong, I still know women 3, 4 years, 5 years later, and I'm talking specifically because I'm thinking of these particular people who are still enamored and connected and all that. But it's a general statement. And the other thing is going to be that we tend to make difficult decisions with our emotions. And then later we try to figure out a way to justify them with our brain. But if in his mind he starts thinking about what you two had together, that you have a child together, and if you had a good relationship together. I'm not saying perfect, but if up until the end of it, it was pretty solid. If it gives him some things to think about and he begins to realize what's best for him and appreciate it, and that's the big word there, when he starts to appreciate you, he starts to appreciate the relationship. And sometimes it takes a while because emotions are like a fire. When they cool down, when the smoke settles, that's when we're more aligned with reality. So keep that in mind, that especially with men, a lot of times their logic is what brings them back, and they end up, it starts off at first, it feels like a pool where their logic is going one way and their emotions are going the other. Usually the logic will win out long term, not short term. So I hope that's encouraging as well. What do you think about that, Ken?
Yeah, I love that. I don't think that gets said enough. It's like, and it's confusing, right? Because sometimes somebody will say, well, she said she really doesn't want to see me anymore. Do you think she's telling the truth? Yes. Is that true forever? Probably not. A lot of times it's not. So somebody can be being very honest with you in that moment. That doesn't make it true. Like months ago or years ago, he probably said, I'll love you forever. Did he mean it? In that moment, yes, he was being honest. Was it true? Well, he's not with you now. But if it can swing away from you, it can swing back. So what Coach Lee said, exactly. It's like don't give up hope in the moment. Emotions change. And when emotions change, situations and relationships change.
Yeah, definitely. What they say in the moment, you're going to think
Yeah.
about that a lot, I know, and you're going to try to make that into, here it is. They said it. It's over. Done.
Yeah.
It's not always, that's rarely the case. How many times do you change your mind about things months later, years later? Sort of like the 10-10-10 rule. 10 minutes from now, I'm going to feel one way. It's going to be different than 10 months from then, and it's going to be different than 10 years from now.
Yeah. Yeah, I like what you said. Emotions calm. It's like it rages. Like you could go get my wife and ask her, as she questioned being with me in the last month. Probably at some point to a degree I don't want to know about. She's questioned it, but it's like that moment fades down. So yeah. All right. Let me see. Coach Lee, we broke up, no contact after 4 months. To say we broke no contact after 4 months. Let me start over. My ex broke no contact after 4 months to say Merry Christmas with heart and rose emojis. I responded Merry Christmas, but I haven't heard back since. Thoughts?
And this is a guy or girl?
It just says Kiba 2008.
Kiva.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, hey, roses and hearts, I know they're just emojis, but I'd take that as a really good sign. I mean, they reached out, said Merry Christmas, roses and hearts. They didn't have to put the roses and hearts. They could have just put a smiley face or a Santa Claus emoji. Do they have a Santa Claus emoji? Because they really should.
You really should. And
They really
they didn't
should.
have to reach out at all, right? Oh, sorry. Kiba is a male.
Okay. Yeah, if she put hearts and roses, it's a great sign.
I'm
So
sorry. He's a male. My bad. Sorry. He's a male. Just got to
who's
correct you.
reaching out?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
The X is a male.
I'm assuming there was a response of Merry Christmas back.
Yeah. I responded Merry Christmas, but I haven't heard back since.
Okay, that's fine. There a lot of times, and I'm not saying every time because none of this stuff is every time. It's just a generic, and it's based on what we've seen. But usually, that type of message is to see first of all if you'll respond, and it's because they're thinking of you around the holidays, and because they don't hate you. They don't have just strong negative feelings about you. So all those are good signs. And the pattern that I see is that means that they usually will contact you again. And that was sort of the foot in the water, the toe in the water, and they're sitting with it. They're kind of contemplating, do I really want to do this? You did well and that you didn't say, oh, it's so wonderful to hear from you. I've missed you and all that. So you didn't give them buyer's remorse. You were just responsive. and you met them, so you did really well there. But it's a good sign, and I do think you'll hear from them. Usually with something like that, I expect within a month that you'll hear from them again. If you don't, that doesn't mean you panic and it's over. I'm just telling you that most of the time that's what I would expect to happen based on what I've seen. And I want to hear Ken's, thoughts on that as well, based on his experience.
No, I totally agree with you, and I think, and I know we worked together long enough. Sometimes I don't know if what I'm saying is what I heard from you, or sometimes the original thought and a Lee thought kind of gets mingled together here. But I think you're totally right. It's a temperature check, and it's very, very unlikely. I want to say it's impossible that they just suddenly missed you and suddenly sent you a message. If they
Right.
sent you a message with roses and champagne glasses, and they added to the message, and yeah, there was actually a Santa Claus emoji along with some champagne glasses. So if they sent you something that's been building, they were thinking about you for a while, and in order to relieve the anxiety of missing you, they sent you a text. And to some degree, when they got a response back, their anxiety went down. They took a deep breath. Okay, okay, he's still there, or she's still there. Okay, I can calm down now, which is very confusing to you, and that's bad. But the good news is, look, he was thinking about you, or he wouldn't have sent it. The last thing you want to do is reach out to somebody you're certain you don't want to be with, and that you're glad you got past. A breakup is messy. So once you get away from it, nobody wants to dive back in. So yeah, you can feel good. Just hold tight. And I like the 30 days too. You can look at it like he's wavering. So let him keep wavering. Let it build.
That doesn't mean you contact him after 30 days. We're just saying we think you'll hear from
Yeah.
him within that time frame. One quick thing I'll add to that is, and this is for everybody listening about this particular question, when the person who broke up with you contacts you, there's some extremely positive things just from them contacting you, even if it's just to say Merry Christmas. One of those things is they were not feeling like they were taking a big risk of leading you on. And what I mean by that is that if they felt like they didn't want to lead you on because they really didn't want to get back together with you, they would not take the risk. They would not reach out. And I know because I do speak to people who do the dumping, and they will tell me, I haven't reached out yet because I didn't want to lead her on. I didn't want to lead him on. But now I'm beginning to think I don't care if I lead him on because I think I want to go back together. So that's from the mouth of someone who did the dumping. They are processing this stuff. And if they really thought, I don't want to lead this person on because I definitely don't want to get back together, they would not contact you. So they allowed that risk. So that also means that this person's done a good job with no contact, because if you were contacting her every day and begging and pleading, they don't want to give you any hope because they're just hoping you leave him alone. And they think, man, if I give him some hope, he's never going to leave me alone.
Yeah.
So this is a perfect example. With no contact, you minimize your mistakes and you minimize the negatives they feel about contacting you. So I hope that's some encouragement, because I have heard that so many times from people who did the dumping. But we'll go to the next question now.
Yeah. All right. We got ex of 4 years cheated on me. We've been broken up for 2 months. I broke up with her. She begged for me back the whole first month, and I and I forgave the beginning of December, but now she doesn't want me. Why?
Well, in my opinion, it's because, have you ever been in pain to something for so long that you become numb to it by choice? Or it's sort of like, if we're just talking about the physical part of it, have you ever rubbed a blister and that blister became a callus? It's a very similar thing. Eventually, you said she was begging for you back. She couldn't get you back. You, if you are hearing my voice, you probably know the pain of that, to beg for somebody back and just think this is insanity. We love each other. I love you. What's going on? It's
Okay, but I
horrible.
should I should I should add, because it's at the beginning and it kind of might have got kind of skimmed over, but his ex cheated on him, so it wasn't like the normal breakup where I got an overinflated sense of worth and now I'm breaking up with you. So there was cheating involved. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, so she cheated.
Yeah,
Okay,
the ex cheated and he broke up with her, and then she begged, and it took like a month for him to forgive her, and then in
mm.
December he decided, okay, I can forgive you, and we'll give this another shot, and then she was like, no, never mind. I
And
mean, I'm summarizing.
that does change my answer. Ken knows me well. he was thinking Lee didn't hear that part.
Yeah, it's like I know
Um,
Lee. He doesn't like cheating anymore than I do.
yeah, so um, that's tough. And part of me wants, I feel obligated to give you the pep talk and say you can do better and that you need to do your best to move on. That's the pep talk on that end. But the other side is to just answer the question. My suspicion is that maybe it was going bad with this person she cheated on and she felt like you were a warm person, a warm somebody who wanted to be with her, or at least that she could get back. Especially, when someone cheats, just like when they dump you, that it's a big ego boost. You got this other person who wants you, and now you got two people fighting over you, which is blowing your ego up like a massive beach ball. So I hope you'll try to move on, but my guess is that's possibly what happened. Is that it was going kind of bad with this other person, and you were maybe potentially easy, and that's what I'm thinking. But now, for some reason, this is confusing me. She begged for him back for a month, right?
Yeah, the
Okay.
cheater begged to get back with the person who's asking the question, but it took the person who asked the question
Yeah.
um, a month to forgive, and then they were willing to get back together, and then the other person was like, "Nope."
Yeah. It kind of sounds like there could be some ego in that too. Like, nope, I gave you your chance. Not doing it anymore. Like, I'm going to get like revenge. It
Yeah,
sounds a lot like that. I mean, it doesn't sound like a positive situation at all. Not one that you should be losing sleep over. I mean, you were wronged, and hey, in that situation, it's a gift to give the other person forgiveness and grace. And you got around to where you wanted to do that. It wasn't required, but you did, and that's a terrific thing to do for someone. But she did not appreciate it, and
yeah,
that tells you a lot. And I know it's difficult to hear, but that tells you a lot that she did that. You forgave her, and
yeah,
she didn't see the value that she should have seen in it. You want to take it
yeah,
from here, Ken?
yeah. I would say, look again, and we can't trace this and stress this enough. Sometimes details matter, but just going by a few key indicators. So this person was with you, violated that trust by cheating on you. So without knowing the details, and for all I know, you're an abusive, emotionally unsafe person. I'm going to assume that's not the case, right? Because you're hurting right now, and I don't want to assume bad things. If you're a good person and she betrayed that trust, then it's not a reach to say she was putting her feelings above you and above acting with character and acting like she was trustworthy. Now, when you find out and you break up with her, she's hurt, she's wounded. That hurt and that wound and her begging you to take her back. And again, I'm not trying to make assumptions, just kind of going by the story. It could have been driven by her ego. Even though she cheated on you, if you rejected her and broke up with her, ego comes to life and says, "No, I can cheat on you, but you can't break up with me." So she comes after you. And then you say, "No, I don't want to do this." Well, that's a bigger wound to her ego. So she keeps coming. But as soon as you say, "All right, I want to give this another shot," what are you doing? You're relieving that wound to her ego. And now all of a sudden, oh, wait, you will take me back? You will give it another try? Well, nah, I don't need to. So it doesn't say good things about her character that she cheated, that she then begged, and then she then told you no. So again, I'm not trying to I don't know this person. I've never met this person, but it doesn't say good things about who they are, that they'll cheat on you, beg you back, get their ego relieved, and then suddenly don't want you. I say this person probably isn't worthy of you.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay. So, trying to make sure I don't miss any of these. Sorry. Okay. So, next up, we got. Sorry, My ex will text and drop off my mail at my mom's, but won't text me. He blocked me on social media, but not on text. Why would he do that? Had to break no contact for a work package, but he responded pretty quickly. Why is he avoiding me? Been broken up for 2.5 weeks.
Well, one of the reasons someone would not block you on text is because you haven't been annoying. You haven't been pursuing and reaching out and pestering them. That's another reason why I push no contact so much, because most people don't understand the damage they do when they do that kind of thing. And one of the consequences of doing that is that you'll get blocked. You didn't do that, so you haven't been blocked, and that's great. Uh, If they don't feel the need to block you, that's great, because he might have it in the back of his mind. I might need to contact her sometime, and that's a positive. If that's the only question, I mean, I think that's my answer. That's a fairly simple answer. As far as just the content of the answer, I'm not saying it wasn't a good question. I'm just saying that's the short of it, is that you did not blow it with him, because when someone really does not want you in their life at all, they put up walls everywhere they can most of the time, and he's not doing that. So there's some hope there, and I would encourage you to not reach out and stay away, and let him figure this out, and hopefully move towards you.
Yeah. And I like that. I like it when they don't shut every door, right? It's like, it's hard to shut every door. So it's a good way to check strength, but I'm going to leave one door open. I'm not going to block them here. So that's a good sign.
So
All right.
we'll do, before the next question here, a reminder to subscribe to Coach Kim. We're really trying to get him to 4,000. Matter of fact, let me hop over there and see. Oops, it's he is at 3.8. So
Yeah.
was like 130 left, something like that.
Yep. Yeah. Looks like 130. It looks like I'm at.
So you just go there to youtube.com/@realcoachken. You click that beautiful red subscribe button, and if we can get Ken to 4,000, I might show you my juggling trick here live.
Really
I
cool.
might
It's really
not,
cool.
but I might.
With a chainsaw and the flamethrower, or
Not
just the
not this
puppies?
time, man. Not this time.
Just the puppies. I get it. I get it. All right. Let me see what we got next. After 5 months, he said he doesn't want a relationship because he felt the pressure and just sees me as a friend. He isn't ready for something serious. I accepted it, but said I don't want him anymore. He then almost cried? Question mark. Oh, that one just. You know what I mean?
So usually when they say I'm not ready, I don't want to be in a relationship, I understand sometimes that's the case, but it's not nearly as common as people make it out to be. Most people just don't think they've found the relationship they want yet. And usually it's something they think that you can't argue with. So they'll say, I just don't want to be in any relationship right now. I wish I could open my brain and let you see all my memories of these times when people tell me this and I say, that's not true. There's probably somebody else. Or they're looking. And people will tell me, no, that's not the case. Even recently, and I won't break any confidences because I never do that. I'm my clients, and I know Ken's the same way, and Coach Rex is the same way. Uh, we don't break confidentiality. We don't tell names. But there was a client recently who was consulting with me and with a witch, and I said there was somebody else. The witch said there was not. And the person kind of thought that the witch was right because the witch claimed that she could see it, clairvoyance and all. And I kept saying, I really think there's somebody else. The witch was saying, nope, there's not. I know there's not. About 3 months later, turns out there was somebody else, and the witch was wrong. Ding dong, the witch was wrong.
Yeah, who knew?
And this person, oh, I'm not ready for a relationship. That's not what I'm looking for. No, that's not it. Again, what we talked about earlier, and Ken said it very well. The things they say when they break up with you, they may feel it in the moment, or they could be lying, but it does not bind them to those words forever. A week later, they don't owe you anything. So, and sometimes it feels that way. Like if they say, there's nobody else, they're not walking away going, well, I said there's nobody else, so I can't date again. They don't
Yeah.
really feel like they owe you the truth because they want to break up and they don't want to be with you. So I know a lot of that's hard to swallow and that's difficult to hear. And I don't like saying it. I just feel like I owe it to people who are listening to me to say that because I want to be accurate and honest. But keep that in mind. And now I've forgotten the question I was answering.
No, it said he accepted it, but said that then
Oh,
he
that's right.
accepted the breakup, and then he
And
almost
cried.
cried. Which, like, the part that.
What do you think about that? About him crying? Sometimes
Yeah.
that's not.
Thank you for the setup. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, look, and me and Coach Lee have talked about this many times. We'll talk about these things. I mean, it's what we do. So when we get together and we hang out quite a bit, these conversations come up. And one of the ones that makes us both irritated on your behalf when somebody's breaking up with you and breaking your heart, and then they're crying about it. And again, it's not like a definite one or the other, but it is one of those flags that makes you wonder. I'll just say it this way: a covert narcissist does that quite a bit. They love to present themselves like they're deep, complicated, and confused. And they like to act like, I wish I didn't have to do this, but gosh, character is so high on my list. And being honest is so important to me that I don't have a choice. I have to break up with you. We've been together 5 months, but I've just realized that I'm not actually that attracted to you. Who knew? And then you say, okay, well, I'll accept the breakup. And then, oh, this is so hard on me to hurt you. Really? It's so hard on you. You're crying? Well, then let's be together. Well, no, I can't do that either. Well, life is so hard. It's like, please, if somebody wants to be with you, they can be with you. Been together 5 months. It took him 5 months to realize he's not that into you. Well, then just suck it up. He can break up with you. And when you say I don't want it, okay, great. But I just don't. It's hard to trust that you're getting the full story there. What do you think, man?
I just keep thinking people do what they want to do, and
Yeah,
that's one of the things in life you've got to realize. Even if it's painful, it still could be something they want to do because they think there's something on the other side of that pain that's better. So just keep that in mind. When anything's confusing, look at their actions. They're doing what they want to do.
yeah. If they wanted to be with you, they'd find a way.
And I know that's
Yeah.
I know that hurts to hear. But it's also it can be very temporary. How many times have you wanted something and then a month later you want something else? So just because they don't want it at the moment does not mean that this is permanent. And what we try to tell you in videos and in these super chats is there's some things you can do to help this happen faster and to give you a better chance. And so we're really trying to give you those answers.
Yeah. But hang in there. I know that's hard, but yeah. Okay, so we got 6 months intimate friends, 1 month dating, then suddenly left for someone else. They said they didn't have time. They used a no time excuse. After 2 months with a new guy and 1 month of no contact, they offered to meet up and they offered for friendship. And ended up refusing a hug and a kiss. They said they wanted to break up with the new guy, but still meet with him. That they still meet with him daily. No contact since that last meeting, and they wished me a Merry Christmas. Keep no contact despite friendship offer until they break up.
Person just sounds like a player. I know that's such a simple answer, but
Yeah,
and the friendship thing, man, that's really just they're trying to not completely burn that bridge because they don't know what they want to do with you. They might want something, they might not, but it's a selfish thing. They're thinking of themselves and they're not wanting to feel guilty. So they feel like I'm so dang sexy. If I offer friendship, they're going to be so happy. And then if I ever do want them again, they'll be nearby and I'll look like I was good to them the whole time. And I can get
yeah,
them back easily again for whatever purpose I want. It could just be one night or, whatever. Um, it's not like I'm at all bitter about all the people I've talked to, but I'm just telling you what I just said. It's 20 years of hearing stories and seeing things happen. Love to get
Mm.
Ken's thoughts now.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. And just shift it for a moment. Imagine that you're the other guy. So this person's not only kind of shown lack of character and lack of value in other people, and they kind of put their own feelings above everybody else's. But imagine that you're the other guy. So, I mean, does this sound like a trustworthy person? They're with you, kind of, then they're not, then they're with this person. But then they say they told you that they want to break up with this other guy, but they haven't. So there's two different guys now she's playing with. And I imagine the one thing she has in common with both men is that she uses them when her ego wants her to use them. But neither one of them are more important to her than herself. That's not somebody you can really build a solid relationship with in the future. A good relationship, I hate to break this to like shallow people in the world, but a good relationship is going to demand sacrifice. It's going to be hard. I mean, that's not like groundbreaking revelation. I think most people with any degree of maturity knows that. Does that sound like a person you really want to kind of put your hope in? She's not only going back and forth with you, she's going back and forth with the guy that she's told she is willing to be exclusive with. So, I mean, she's gonna have to kind of grow up and develop some real character. She sounds like a child in a grown-up's body, but I'm not trying to be harsh, but that's not even a judgment. That's just good people and bad people make mistakes, but good people don't make that mistake in an ongoing way.
So Ken, you got to last time it was at 3.7 or sorry, 3.87 thousand, and now it's 3.88 thousand. So
Well,
you have gained some. I don't know what the exact number is, but you've gained some there.
that works. Thanks, guys.
So
Appreciate that.
yeah, so keep it up. Be subscribing to Coach Ken, and once you do, and you start seeing some of his videos, you're going to be glad that you did. He's going to talk about some things that are going to blow your mind. So hop over there, subscribe to Coach Ken. Let's get him to 4,000. He deserves it. There's a lot of people on YouTube who have a lot of subscribers, and it's a little questionable, but Ken, of all people, deserves to have way more. So let's push him
Appreciate
over
it.
the threshold there. And
Thanks,
now we
brother.
can go to the next question. Commercial's over.
Yeah, thanks, man. All right, let me save this question. I'm trying not to make sure I don't miss
While
anybody
he's
here.
looking at that, there is a discount code for the emergency breakup kit. You can see right here. It takes somewhere around 20% off of the purchase price. You can see the code here, and it'll ask you for it, and you just enter it in, and it takes that off the price. And that's just for people who are here at the super chat, because you've never heard me mention that in the videos. So,
Boom. All right, so here we go. We got my ex sent me 2 teases of getting back together.
two
One
what?
on New Year, 2 teases of getting
Okay.
back together. One on New Year's Eve. The last one was a text. Not a single day goes by without thinking of you. I replied an hour later saying, "Me too. What do you think?" And that was left unread.
Feels like that
Yeah.
they were using for the ego, even if they didn't know it. And sometimes they'll do that to appease guilt or to back up what they said. So in the last answer that Ken gave, he talked about how people will try to act, I'm so complicated because I want to be with you so bad, but I just can't. And that's
You
always,
deserve
well,
me to be honest with you. Sorry. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, because people do what they want to do. And so if they said something like that, then they're almost going to feel obligated to send a message like that. And I have heard that so many times where that followed, where when it was like, oh, I want to be with you. It's so complicated. You don't understand. And I'm crying because this hurts so bad. They feel like they need to be consistent. And so they'll send you some kind of text, that I'm thinking of you, or they'll try to still be involved. And it's because they want to look like they were telling you the truth.
Yeah.
So it could be that. It's not necessarily that. It could be. It's probably more times than not it is. But what it can also be is they had a moment of weakness, which is good because several moments of weakness becomes a realization.
Yeah.
And if they are having a moment of weakness, that's a positive. The only negative in this is I wouldn't have said the thing you said at
Me
the
too.
end, which was I'm
Me
gonna
too.
transition to Ken now. He's gonna finish this answer.
No, I'm with you. I think you're gonna say you didn't like the part where you said "me too." It's like, well, it's like part of it's human nature. They probably want to know if you're with somebody. I broke up with you, and now there's been enough time. I'm not sure if I made the right decision. Anxiety's starting to grow a little bit, but not enough that I'm going to leave the person I'm with or get back into that relationship. So what can I do? I know. I'll reach out and I'll say, not a single day goes by where I don't think about you. How's that? How are they going to respond? Me too. So what do you think? Okay, good. They're still there.
So
That
that
means they're
last
probably not.
thing,
Yeah.
that's what he said. What do you think?
Yeah.
That was the part I had more. That's my biggest issue with that is that part of it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have
I
said
like,
that or
I like
recommended
it.
that.
I like it. I wasn't crazy about the part where, I mean, I would have responded with something positive, but I wouldn't have said, I've been thinking about you every day too. I would have said something like, you've crossed my mind too. Or I think about you sometimes as well.
Or
I mean,
even
it's
just I
something.
miss you too.
I miss you too. Perfect. Yeah. Something like that. But I think it probably just eased that anxiety that was growing. Again, it wasn't the first time she thought about you and missed you. And then she decided to send that message in that moment. It's been growing. That sense of loss, that fear that she made the wrong decision was growing. And the only way to relieve it was to reach out. And then as soon as she found out that you're there, okay, good. It's like we use the metaphor sometimes. If your relationship's like a house, a lot of times when they break up with you, they think emotionally you're going to stay camped out on the porch. And as long as you're on the porch, they don't have to have a sense of loss. But when you're gone long enough and you're quiet enough, well, I hope they didn't go too far. I know I didn't want to be with them, but I assumed they'd want to be with me. Where did they go? Hey, I've missed you every day. Oh, good. Yeah, I got a response. Okay. Now it'll disappear again.
At the same time, it's not disastrous. You could
Uh,
have done a lot worse. A lot of
yeah. And
times,
it's good that yeah. Sorry,
a
go ahead.
lot, a lot of times, this type of response, I would say, probably delayed things, softened things, took the edge off a little bit. But I don't think it's just absolute disaster. So don't feel like we're getting on to you and me like, oh my goodness, what? I mean, we've heard a lot worse than that. And we're picky because we've seen so many situations that we've been able to discuss it and try things and see what works. But I don't think it's disastrous.
Oh, yeah. And I'm sorry. I probably made it sound that way. I
No,
didn't
you're
mean it
good.
that way. Yeah, they're thinking about you. Like Lee said, it's good news. You can know that they've been thinking about you and they've been thinking about you for a while. Yeah. Okay. Let me see. We got next. I'm talking to a new guy. I'm still married. He says he only wants to be friends until the divorce is complete. He talks to other women and is honest about it, but it still bothers me. Is he just playing around, or should I take him seriously?
Would you mind reading that one more time, buddy?
Yeah, no problem. Talking to a new guy, but I'm still married. He says he only wants to be friends until I'm divorced. While that's happening, I'm not sure, and I am curious if the divorce has started. But anyway, he says he only wants to be friends with me until I'm divorced. In the meantime, he's talking to other women, and he's honest about it, but it still bothers me. Is he just playing around, or should I take him seriously?
Wow.
Yeah,
I mean, I've definitely had that case, but that's a rare one. And it's a little bit up in the air. I feel like I have some questions as well. Like, what has happened between the two of them as far as he says he just wants to be friends, but have they really just been friends? You know,
yeah,
that's interesting. And I'd like to know what the progress is on the divorce. What do we have an expectation of a time frame? Because him being with other people, if there's a set time,
yeah,
that's not a positive. That's a little bit of a character issue, even in my opinion. But or it could be.
yeah.
What do you think?
I think okay. I'm curious. I'm going to go out on a limb here. I think what I'm about to say you would agree with, but let's say for a moment that the guy was a client, or the guy was the guy that jumped into the super chat and said, "I'm really crazy about this woman, but she's still married, and I told her that I can only be friends with her until the divorce is finished. Should I still talk to other women while I wait?" If that was a question I got, I would say, well, yeah, you don't want to block yourself off and limit yourself completely. I would be honest with her about it. If you're talking to somebody, tell her you want to be honest and transparent about it, but it's not reasonable that you take yourself, out of the dating game while this person is still married. So kind of looking at it from that other angle, again, like Lee said, there's going to be details that matter in this one, but I don't think the fact that he's talking to other women and is being honest about it means you shouldn't trust him or take him seriously. I mean, most people are going to think of a marriage as a reasonable obstacle.
Hmm. But there's also that element because he kind of seems like he's doing the right thing by saying I want to wait, and I get that. But the other stuff is, I mean, and it's not a usual situation, so maybe we can give him the benefit of the doubt. But I do have questions, and I know Ken would too. So you can book that call with Ken and get a much better answer if you have a full session with him. And I don't mean to keep pointing to that, but I do mean to keep pointing to that in the right situations.
Thanks,
So
man.
that's one of those.
Uh, okay, let me see. What would you suggest if let me see, if the I'm sorry check in text came the day after the breakup? Also, when my girlfriend dumped me, she was literally on her knees, hanging her head and apologizing. Thoughts. It's been 9 months. All right, let me see if I can summarize that. So 9 months ago, she broke up with him. While she's breaking up with him, she's literally on her knees, hanging her head down and apologizing during the breakup. And then the next day, sent him a "I'm sorry and just checking in on you" text.
Someone can love you platonically and not romantically. Or in this case, I mean, in the case of most people that are hearing my voice, the platonic part has become stronger than the romantic part. And so that means they don't want to hurt you. And that's a good thing because if it's really easy for them to hurt you, first of all, it's going to be less likely to be a long term thing. And it's going to be a bad thing for you if it is. Second, if they are okay with hurting you, then it usually means they're really irritated or they're numb to you. They could be either. Usually, numb comes after irritation and pain, and that's usually a very bad place to be in. But the fact that you still impact her, you still get to her, and she knows she's hurting you. So you kind of have different stories because, like what Ken talked about earlier, you get someone who is a full of themselves, egotistical narcissist, and they might try to come off as complicated, and they might try to come off as I don't want to do this. Oh, it's just this stuff. That kind of stuff. But if it's a genuine person and they just don't feel what they used to feel and it's faded some and they start to think, I don't know if I want a future with this person, but they still care about you because they have great experiences with you and they're just a good person, then they don't want to hurt you. So it could be something more on that spectrum. And if she reached out the next day, sometimes it's regret. It's what have I done? Should I have done this? That's good. That's terrific. It usually means that no contact is a better chance of working than even average. So that's a positive. And I'd love to know what you said.
Oh. And it says, okay, they added to it. They were dating for 3 months before the breakup, and then she said she wanted space. The relationship during the 3 months was very good. He did the 30-day no contact, and then
What's
gave
that?
her a. He did 30 days no contact, and then sent her a text, and she said she still didn't see him long term.
Yeah. The reason I asked that was kind of cool because I felt like that was about to happen. I don't
Yeah,
believe in a 30-day no contact.
yeah,
And I have a video, as a matter of fact, that says, is the 30-day no contact rule enough? It's usually not. Even in short-term relationships that are like 2 or 3 months, 30 days is just usually not enough. Not even close. Usually it's going to take 2.5 months to really get to them. 45 days is when most people start having the difficult part of separation anxiety as far as the chemicals that come from the brain and get in the bloodstream. And so 45 days is a bare minimum. But people do hear this 30-day no contact. There's some people who talk about that. It's better than zero, but it's
yeah.
it's not enough. And I don't like that it's out there because it leads people astray because they'll hear me say the no contact rule and they assume I'm talking about 30 days and I'm not. I don't think you should reach out after 30 days, but not enough time has passed. Usually that's not going to end well for you. Go ahead with your thoughts, Ken.
No, I love that you said that because I mean, 30 days, and I get it. When you're in no contact, it can be, it makes the pain. It can kind of magnify the pain. Pain makes you want to do something. If you break your leg, you want to fix it. You break your heart, you want to fix it. But pain in the physical sense means something's weak, something's broken, something's vulnerable. Emotionally, it might just mean you're a good person who has authentic, sincere feelings that you mean the words you say. It doesn't mean that you need to go fix something, but it triggers that proactive need to do it. So I love that you said that because Coach Lee, when you say something, people trust you. In 30 days, so many times, I know it's painful, but you're getting to them to the point where they really started to trigger and re-examine, and then people sabotage it because they think in terms of logic. Every day they're getting further away. That's one of the most damaging and logical but erroneous false beliefs. After 30 days, they're going to be 30 days over me. They're going to be 30 days stronger. Emotions don't work like a rocket ship. They don't get further away and stronger and higher. A lot of times after 30 days, they get a real sense of loss. 45 days, a real sense of loss. So let it build. Look at every day that you do no contact as putting a brick into the wall of attraction. And you're proving that you have more strength, you have more worth than maybe they suspected. But Lee and I both have seen people come back 3 months. That's not uncommon at all. 4 months, totally not uncommon. 5 or 6 months, that you start getting higher, and does their percentage start going down? Yes, but we both know people that have come back for way longer than even the 3 month mark. So some of it's just going to depend on your situation, but don't give up. Just
Yes,
kind of just hang in there.
yeah, he said hang in there. And let me add something to this. If if you broke up with someone, and a lot of you have, sometimes it's rare that I speak with someone who has never broken up with anybody else. I do sometimes, so I know probably some of you have never broken up with somebody else. But if you did, it's a very difficult thing if you care about the person and love them. It is difficult. And believe it or not, you can care about them and love them and break up with them, like I described earlier. But it was difficult. So, do you think that after a month, after 30 days, even if you are questioning it and hurting and thinking, maybe I want to get back together, because it was so difficult and you saw the look of pain in this person's face, you want to be sure before you risk going back only to have to leave them again? So, take that into consideration. So I know that it's difficult to be patient. You want them back now because it's something you want badly. You love them, you miss them. This hurts. Like he said, you've got a broken heart and you want to fix it. But if you think about their situation right now, your ex, the person who broke up with you, could be sitting on a couch in their apartment or house or whatever, thinking about you, wishing they could see you, wanting to be with you, but they're not going to push themselves to contact you or do it yet because they want to be at least more sure than they are in the moment, or they want to see if they're still sure tomorrow. Because think about it, 6 months ago maybe they thought they'd be with you forever, so they know that this man, I feel differently. We all do. We feel differently sometimes. That's why love is, it is a decision, but it's not just a decision. But part of love, part of it is a decision. Because some days you are going to question it. Like Ken made the joke earlier. Did his wife think this month or last month, was there a day when she thought, I don't know if this is what I want? Possibly. That's not too uncommon. Anyway, the short answer, or what I'm trying to say here, is that basically um, they're seeing your messages to me, buddy. Sorry. The chat
Oh wait, they're
feature
what?
on Zoom, it pops up a little bubble. But anyway, what I was saying was is that think about the what's going on with them as far as this strange series of events in their mind. And if they didn't like hurting you, they want to be sure because they don't want to do it again. Okay, so that's something to think about. I think for some of you that might give you a little more patience and make it a little bit easier, just a little bit. So, all right, some good news, Ken. You ticked up again. You've gone so far from 3.37 thousand to 3.38 thousand. Now you're at 3.39 thousand. I think that means,
Yeah,
sorry,
climbing.
3.8. Sorry, you were at 3.87 thousand. Then you went to 3.88. Now you're at 3.89. I wish they just put a comma in there, but because usually we don't refer to the thousands as point. Usually that's millions, like 2.3 million. But I think that I know you're getting much closer. So
Yeah,
there we
beautiful.
go.
All right, sorry. Okay. Yeah, and I was gonna say too. A lot of times, when we're talking about it takes longer for no contact to work. Well, a lot of times people are dating somebody else. After a breakup, you start dating somebody else. Well, give that other relationship. Most relationships burn out in 2 to 4 months, and you kind of help speed it along if you're not boosting it by chasing and competing with the person that they're with now. You frame yourself as the loser in a head-to-head. When you don't compete, you don't frame yourself as a loser. And people tend to think about the person strong enough to walk away more than they think about the person who's still there. Give that other relationship time to burn out. And if it does, and most of them do, then they're going to be wondering about that person that they gave up. for the relationship that turned out not to be so great after all.
Oh yeah, that's a whole other little part of the Rubik's cube of breakups here. That there's always that potential as well. I'm glad you said that.
Thanks, brother. Okay, I'm jumping in. I got an indirect. Wait, we already went over that. Sorry that. Um, was in no contact. My ex was reaching out periodically. Posted myself at the gym with a rap song playing. My ex found out through a friend and said the song was insulting to her. I explained and said that was not the case. She didn't believe me. She
Was it
blocked
I
me.
like big butts and I can't lie?
I can only assume that had to be the song, right?
I
Yeah.
mean, that's what one would assume.
Right. Yeah. I think that's logical. I explained and she said, and I explained and told her that wasn't the case. She didn't believe me. She blocked me. What should I do?
Dang.
Yeah.
I, I'm wondering what song it was.
Yeah.
Um, so it's really difficult to answer, and because if it was stupid, then I think
Baby
the
got
answer though
back.
would still be the same. If you
Yeah.
said, if you were confronted and you said no, I mean, I didn't mean to insult anybody with that, and they didn't believe you, you kind of have to stand with what you said
Yeah.
because you just don't really have an alternative. If she blocked you, that happened, right? Blocked.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like you can if you go over to the house, you're really risking stalker mode, obsession, looking like you're obsessed, having her friends say, "What a freak," "What a creep," all that kind of stuff, which is gonna make your attraction plummet, your attractiveness plummet. So you definitely don't want to do that. So in a lot of ways, you're in a catch-22 here, and it's really immature unless the song was just really obviously an insult. But she should have given the benefit of the doubt, especially it was about you. You were at the gym, you were working out, you played the rap song or whatever song it was to that's what people do a lot of times, when they're achieving something. It's kind of a modern day phenomenon to do that on social media. So it's kind of a little bit childish to just assume that that was about her, but I don't know all the
Yeah.
details, obviously.
Yeah. Well, and I wonder too, sometimes after a breakup, one way to find out that you have meaning to somebody is to pick a fight with them. So in a strange way, her getting angry about it and telling a friend, and then you reaching out and reassuring her that that's not the case, but she still gets mad and blocks you. Just knowing that she can kind of get that reaction from you is going to boost her sense of worth. So she's getting that sense of meaning from you, even though, like you said, it might not have anything to do with her. So it's a little bit of almost like subconscious manipulation. So I wouldn't, apologize for it once. If you apologize for something once, then it seems like it's coming from a place of strength. If you apologize 15 times and keep trying to chase her to make her believe it, suddenly it seems like your apology is coming from a place of desperation and neediness, and it's going to drain attraction more. So once you own something, and it doesn't even sound like you did anything wrong, I definitely wouldn't keep repeating the apology.
I
Yeah, and Kim says, and Kim's one of our students, and she said it's interesting that she's assuming the song is about her and personalizing it. So yeah, I think that's yeah.
and she was watching your social media as well.
Yeah, right. Yeah, good point. Yeah, good point. All right, we got together for 3 years, engaged. She moved out 4 months ago, but we stayed somewhat romantic until contact. We stayed somewhat romantic. We stayed in somewhat romantic contact until 2 weeks ago. I went no contact, and she just texted me yesterday. Any chance I get her back?
Sure is looking good. It's
Yeah, right.
following pattern. You went no contact. She reached out. She didn't like it. The she missed the intimacy of having a connection with you. Those are positives. I'd like to know what she said and what you said and what happened after that.
Yeah, but I mean, it's only been. I mean, yesterday you heard from her yesterday, so she hasn't shown a strong ability to walk away from you for long term yet.
Yeah, I mean, if it's difficult this soon, that's a terrific sign. You
Yeah,
know that I don't see that as anything but positive.
yeah, absolutely. All right, let me see. We got. I've been in no contact for 6 weeks. Prior only smart contact. My ex hasn't contacted me. I love him. We used to have bad fights from poor habits, but we have both become more healthy and respectful. And this was Michaela from earlier.
Could you read it again?
Yeah, sorry. Been in no contact for 6 weeks. Prior to that, only smart contact. My ex hasn't contacted me. So hasn't contacted her in 6 weeks. She still loves him. They used to have poor fights from bad. They used to have bad fights from poor habits, but they've both become more healthy and respectful. But to summarize, no contact for 6 weeks, and ex hasn't contacted. So I don't honestly going back to earlier. I don't think this information changes what we already addressed. So I'll move to the next one. Since 6 months since breakup, my ex wished me a happy new year. I said we should get coffee, and she agreed and said let's plan it for later this week. She reached out later and said she was up north. Do you think she'll reach back out?
So do you take that to mean she canceled the coffee?
I'm assuming what she said. She was up north. Yeah. So yeah, it's a little unclear, but I'm going to assume that.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a good chance you'll hear something. It's a little odd to me. I mean, because she would have known she was going, and ideally, the person, if they ever say no, for example, when I coach people who are, I don't do this very often anymore, but when I used to, someone who wanted a boyfriend, wanted a girlfriend, one way to know how interested the other person was is if you ask them to do something. So if a guy asks a girl out for dinner or just to have lunch or just something simple like coffee, and she's like, "Oh, I can't that day because, I plan to go for a walk with a good friend or I'm going ice skating or whatever, just some excuse, or I have to work." If she's interested, then she will offer an alternative date. She will say, "But this is what my schedule looks like," or "I don't work on Saturday," or "I'm really busy this week, but next week I have several days open." That's what people do when they are interested. They make it easy on you. And whenever somebody's making it difficult on you, like for example, the other day I saw online someone was upset because I think it was their ex that they broke up with. He's dating a woman who is not from the United States, and they met online and they started dating quickly. And it was sort of a derogatory, almost a racist type of statement because that she made, and she said, "That's not how it's supposed to be. Dating's not that easy." And I remember I didn't say this, at least I don't think I did. Sometimes I think things and I don't say them, and that's usually better because that way I don't get in a fight with somebody. But I thought, if that's your attitude, then you're going to have a lot of bad luck with dating because if you think it's supposed to be hard, like that's part of your MO when you're dating someone is that you make it hard. My goodness. I mean, I would be telling a guy, you hear me say this. You hear me tell people you can do better. You should move on. If someone told me about someone like that, I would say you can do better. You should move on because if you're interested in someone, you should make it easy for them. I'm not saying be easy and go overboard and say more and do more than they are, but I am telling you you keep the door open when you're interested in somebody coming into your house. You close it when you're not. And so if you ask them out, like in this case they were supposed to get coffee or whatever it was, and then she's like, "Oh, I'm up north." If in that moment she was interested like we want her to be, she probably would have said, "What about Tuesday? I'll be back home," or "I'll be back next week." Something like that. She would have made it easy for him. She wouldn't have made it hard. She wouldn't have left this door closed and he doesn't even know what to do. It's frustrating. So keep that in mind that her interest level at the moment is not as high as you want it to be because she did not offer an alternative. What do you think, Ken?
I'm with you, and I think we both tend to say, like, if somebody gives you the chance to pursue, don't take it. If they express guilt, sympathy, or pity, sometimes it's kind of scary because it might seem like the last connection you have, but you want to give those things back. So to summarize, it's just another way of saying if I'm getting a message like that, hey, it turns out I'm up north, won't be able to make it. I'd say something like, hey, no worries, have fun. I'm not going to say no worries. So when do you think you'll be back? So when's a good time? like you just said, no, she's hinting that she's pulling back. Well, hint strength. If somebody takes a half step away from you, don't chase them and try to close that gap. Give them the half step yourself. That projects strength. It's scary and it seems illogical, but the key is to project strength that you might not feel. It doesn't mean you don't have it. It just means in the moment you don't feel it. So yeah, I'm in total agreement with you there.
And he said it so well. Just just
Thank you.
because it's difficult doesn't mean it's not the right thing. The right thing very often is
Yeah, I like
difficult,
that.
but it's still the right thing. And I just use different words, but I like the way he said it better. And the other thing I was going to say is it's scary. It's like you're standing on a cliff when you don't respond and say, "Well, what day are you free?" But you have to do it. You absolutely have to in that type of situation because you will end up looking bad. You're going to look less attractive. It's going to look a little bit, I don't mean to use a word that's going to hurt anybody, but it's going to look a little bit pitiful and it's going to lower your attractiveness. So you've got to stand toe to toe. You can't, when I do this, you and they do this, you cannot cross over that line like that. You've got to stay there, okay? And her saying I'm up north so I can't have coffee is her staying back here. Now, if she had said, "Oh, something came up, I had to go up north. I'll be back next week. We can get that coffee." She's doing this. That's fine. But once you pass over this middle line, that's where you get into obsession. You start looking like a stalker. Okay. Stay where you are. You're close enough. Trust me, if you two had never known each other, you'd be like this. Okay. You were dating, you were like this. They've gone over there. You've got to stay there till they come back.
Yeah.
It's tough to do.
Yeah, I like that. I like, and you said too in some of your videos, you'll say, look, if somebody called me and said, well, what's the one thing I'll do anything to get them back? What's the one thing I have to do? Well, instead of crawling over glass, I think you said crawling over glass, climb any mountain. It's like, all right, well, show the strength that you have by doing no contact. Give them the breakup.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
you would do anything, right? You think, "Oh, I would take any pain. I would walk any distance. I'd climb any mountain." And then it's like, okay, well, don't contact them for 2 months. What? That seems
Yeah.
more difficult, and I get it. But here's that difficult thing you have to do to have that chance.
Yeah. Okay. We got 7 year relationship, 10 months engaged. She came out as bisexual after some time in therapy. She broke it off and got into a relationship with a woman in 2 months. Is this a rebound? She still follows me on Instagram and Facebook.
Well, it's a confused person, obviously, who doesn't know what she wants. That's usually when someone breaks up with the other person, that's the case. Your attractiveness fail, and the fact that she's still got some contact, or I mean, she's still connected to you socially, that's a positive. She doesn't want to just totally burn the bridge, but sometimes people get confused. And if they've, in this case, it's a bit of a sensitive topic, but sometimes when women have bad experiences with men, this type of thing can be something they see as an option in their mind. Same thing is true with men. So it is a similar situation to a lot of them that no contact is going to be your best bet. And I know that wasn't your question, but you certainly can't be the one. For example, I remember a guy telling me that he was trying to get his girlfriend back and she was with this other guy, and he called her and she answered angrily, and he heard the other guy in the background, and he heard the guy say, "Come back to bed." So he called while they were in the middle of sleeping together. And think about how that made him look in both of their minds. Did they joke about it? Was he kind of mocked? We don't know, but it's very possible. So that's kind of this situation, especially when she thinks, she's not real sure she might be bi or whatever it is. And I hope that the counselor didn't kind of push that or whatever, but I don't know all the details. But I have seen I have seen that work. I've seen the person come back. I'm not saying
Yeah.
the odds are good. Honestly, it's really difficult for me to say because that's a situation I see so rarely. But um, I know it hurts a lot, and it's an unusual type of pain
Yeah.
as well. So I wish I knew better what to say.
Yeah. Well, and it's an extra layer of complication just by it's harder to feel like you can compete. Like if me and Lee are
Yeah,
competing for something, well, I'm 50 pounds overweight and he's good looking, so I'll pick somebody else. But if I had to compete with
you're
another
good
guy,
looking too.
stop you. But if it's kind of something that you're raised with. People are raised competing with each other, but I don't know how to compete with a woman for a woman I'm in love with, so that can make it more painful. But I'd still stick with the principles Coach Lee's talking about in his videos. Give her the weight of your absence, right? So she's thinking about you, like Lee said. She wouldn't be checking those things. Like you don't check even the social media accounts of people that you don't care about. You might do it randomly once every like 3 or 4 years, or just on a random, hair that you might get. But right after a breakup, she's still thinking about you. And unless she's a narcissist, you still have weight. So just use that what you have left by doing what Coach Lee's saying. Just give her the breakup and see what happens. But I'm sorry you're going through that. I know it's gotta be painful. All right. I got an direct text from an ex-girlfriend 7 days post breakup. I responded as it was an inside joke from her. I've not heard from her since. 30 days of no contact. Did I mess up by not asking her out? Was hoping to hear from her again. Afraid I messed it up.
And there's that indirect direct again.
Yeah, right.
I feel like that's maybe part of social vernacular, and I don't know what it means.
I don't know, makes
Indirect.
makes me feel old, like indirect direct. I know don't know what that means.
I mean, I'm not. I mean, I just don't know what it means exactly. That's all I'm saying. It may make total sense. I'm just trying to indirect direct.
Yeah.
I mean, it almost sounds like maybe a message through somebody else. Maybe I don't
Yeah.
know what else it could be.
Yeah. I'm
But
not sure.
did you mess up by not asking her out? Usually in this situation, I'm going to say no. I mean, especially if it was not a direct message. This is just kind of a
And
confusing situation. The
yeah.
way it's
I'll
it's on my
I'll
ears.
try
What do
to
you
I'll try to
think?
re I'll try to reword it. So let me see. 7 days after the breakup, he got a text. It was an inside joke from her. Hasn't heard from her since. It's only been 30 days. Did he mess up by not asking her out when he got that inside joke from her message? Inside joke.
Yeah, my rule generally is if it's not a direct message, that that asking them out is off the table. It's out of the question because it's almost like gambling with somebody else's money. I mean, they're just barely going to take any risk, hoping you're just going to take all the risk of rejection. It's insulting. It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like you're expecting the other person to do all the work, and you're just going to do just this minuscule little bit, and they're gonna go the other 90%. Especially when they've broken up with you, that's not the right thing to do at all. They should be the ones doing the majority of it, really. But we'll settle for 50-50 here.
Yeah. Yeah. I always say take it as a good sign that they're thinking about you. In other words, it's like you're seeing the tower start to waver. You're seeing a tree. Maybe you're chopping it down with no contact. You're seeing it start to shake. Or maybe a better metaphor, you're seeing the door start to crack open. Don't take it as a sign. I should kick the door in. I just saw the door move a little bit. Let me kick it in. When you do that, then you hit what Lee calls buyer's remorse. Oh, look, it took me doing a little temperature check, just a little reach out, toe in the water, and boom, they're right here again. I don't know why I was worried that I lost them. So take it for the encouragement that it is, but don't overreact to it. Let that good anxiety that they're feeling for you keep on building.
Yeah. What I usually say is you basically you only match them. So if they like a post, I don't even say you should do that, but I'm saying that the if it's something where there's somehow an answer expected from you, like maybe it's through a friend, tell the friend the answer and don't add any more information. If it's, I left my stuff, would you check the drawer? Yeah, check the drawer, it's not there. Don't add to it. Only match them. And So, sometimes people will say, well, they liked something I posted, so I like something they posted. I'm like, well, that's not the best thing to do, but at least you didn't say, oh, they like something I posted, I'm going to call them. You see how
Yeah.
it's not the same peg there. It's like a square and a round peg. It's not the same thing. It's not the same value. It's like, hey, here's a quarter. Hey, here's $10. It's not fair. And it's going to make you look bad. It's going to make it look like you are less valuable, which is the last thing you need when you're trying to get them back. They need to see your value go up. They don't need to see that it's still down there beneath them. That's only going to be painful for you. And I'm just going to say that again. That is only going to be painful for you. So a lot of these things we tell you, we're trying to save you some pain. We do want you to get back together with this person, but it's a lot of times you're using a scalpel and not a sledgehammer, you know? And a lot of this too is patience. You're not going to be able to get it all back at once. And sometimes this stuff takes so much time. In 2 or 3 months, I know that sounds like a lot of time, but if you really think that this is your forever person, it's not much time at all. It's a small price. And you would need that for healing anyway. You wouldn't, it's not healthy to just, I was in a 2 year relationship and now this person's broken up with me. So tomorrow night I'm going to go out with somebody. You're going to program yourself to basically be a limerence addict. It's not healthy. You need time to just focus on you and grieve, be with your friends, give yourself some time, and then later, 3, 4 months down the road, then you can hop back out there. I mean, that's the healthy way. I know there are other coaches, well, not that many really, but I know of one who kind of says hop right back out there. He's a good guy and he has good intentions, but I completely disagree, and I've seen people ruin their lives that way. So
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I gotta like piggyback and back up what you just said, and I love that term that you get addicted to limerence, and especially like a lot of the image that we have of true love, it just has to be that perfect person. And I hear about people all the time that'll schedule a call with me to get back somebody they broke up with, and why did they break up with them? Well, because I wasn't really certain, I wasn't positive, I didn't know they didn't hit all the markers. Well, where do you get the idea that somebody's going to hit all the markers? So I think they get addicted to limerence and they get addicted to the idea that their perfect someone is actually going to be someone perfect. And that's not the case. Yeah, okay, let me see. We got thanks, brother. All right, so we got Sansa boy. 8 months together, good breakup. 3 weeks since no 3 weeks since breakup, no contact since Christmas. Rebounded to someone online after 3 days of breakup. 2 days ago, she sent a TikTok and said, "I saw this and thought of you." I responded casually and lightly. Later that afternoon, she sent a random image of food with no context or no text, I imagine. So I responded lightly and casually again. We then had a 30-minute text conversation. I kept the conversation light and casual and let her lead. It seemed like she missed intimacy, and I have a hunch that she might be out of the rebound now, but it's not confirmed. Any insight?
yeah, it sounds like the rebound's either over or she didn't take it very seriously,
Yeah.
or isn't taking it very seriously. I mean, and it sounds like you watched a lot of my videos or a lot of Ken's videos or both. I hope you guys are watching both, and that you're subscribing to this YouTube channel right here. That's Coach Ken who's giving you all this great info. Um,
Thanks, brother.
and you can open a new tab and do that and still hear me talking. So do that. And yeah, I agree with you. And it sounds like you're doing the right things, letting her lead the conversation. You're not keeping it going. You're matching. You're not jumping out in the lead. That's good. And I wish I could say something other than keep doing what you're doing, but keep doing what you're doing because it's working. She is beginning to reach out more. She's sending you messages. And when they send you things like that and you're like, food, they send me a picture of food. Well, what the heck? So, first of all, have you ever just been sitting there and you want to text somebody and you don't know what to say and you're trying to figure something to say and you're like, I'll sound stupid if I say that, but I want to say something. And then you finally settle on something and you send it and you're like, oh, that was stupid. But you wanted to send them something because you're wanting to interact. What that is you're wanting intimacy. You want that back and forth. You want to say something that they hear. It triggers a response from them and they say something. It's the most basic thing that we do with another person, and yet it's a form of intimacy. And she wanted intimacy with you. She looked at this and she thought, I wish he could see it. I wish I could tell him about it. That's intimacy. When
Yeah.
I was in Alaska years ago, I remember seeing the sun go barely above sunrise, go sideways for about 3 hours or 4 hours, and then it went away and it got dark again. And I remember thinking, I wish my wife could see this. In other words, it wasn't just enough that I'm seeing it. There's somebody else. Something felt like it was missing. So she felt like something was missing when she's having this meal and she wanted you to see the food. So it may seem like a really cheap message to send, but there's some positives there too. She didn't have to do it. Ken and I say that a lot. She didn't have to do it, but what's the word? She wanted to do it. People do what they want to do. So you've got a lot of good stuff going for you, and I would keep doing what you're doing, letting her keep coming to you. Eventually, you two will be texting back and forth, and it'll be okay for you to initiate. Not yet. You'll know it because she will be saying some things about, she'll be doing a lot of reminiscing on things you've done together, talking about some things maybe you could do together at some point. That's when you know you might can initiate some. When I say initiate some, I mean somewhere around 30% of the time you can initiate. Don't let it go above that. That's you don't want to go backwards. You want it to keep moving forward. Ken,
Yeah.
save me.
No, I'm with you. And look, it hasn't been that long. So you're still in those early stages. She hasn't even been able to go 30 days without reaching out to you. So give her the no contact. Let her have the wait. I like that you're following what Coach Lee says about you can initiate, you can match what they initiate, but and sometimes kind of calibrate it. You take a little longer, respond a little shorter. You just want to kind of give the message that you're okay, resilient, not like red solo cup at the margarita bar having a girl lick margarita salt off your stomach, but resilient and content is highly underrated, and it's really charismatic and attractive. She's thinking about you, so let it keep building. And take some confidence from the fact that she didn't go very long before she's reaching out to you. What do you think, big man?
I was just thinking how I'm sure there are a lot of people listening who would love to be in that situation, and I
Oh
was
yeah,
kind of feeling bad. So
yeah, yeah. Okay, it's 7:32. So if it's good, I think this will be like the last one. And I put in the messages if we missed you. And look, I get it, Coach Lee, and I've known Coach Lee a long time. He's impressive. He is what you're seeing. So if we missed you, even though I put my email on there, I talked to him. I'm lucky enough I get to talk to him every day. So don't feel like it won't go across his eyes. Um, I'll share whatever you send me, and then we'll get back to you with a response. So if you paid for a question and we didn't get to you, our apologies, but just send it to that email and we will get back to you. Does that sound good, big
so
man?
yeah, so there's Ken's email right there, Coach Ken at dotheylove.me.com.
Yeah. Okay. I was in a 6-year relationship with my ex. I took the breakup bad. I was begging and chasing so bad. She said if I messaged her one more time, she would get a no contact order. I guess a restraining order. Anyway,
Yeah.
did I blow any chance I had?
I'm not going to say you blew every chance, but it's not good
Yeah.
because here come the hands again. She did this and you went over here. And anytime you cross that line in any relationship, in friendships, you can cross that line. Working relationships, you can cross that line. And certainly in romance, you can. When they back off and you cross over, if we're just talking about psychology, that's when you can start to be in the realm of obsession. And it can look really bad. It can look stalkerish and creepy. That's probably why she got the order of protection or restraining order for those of you who are not familiar with the order of protection. And you obviously now have a legal reason to stay away. So the short answer is, have I ever talked to people in this situation who got back together? I have, but it's in the minority of cases. One of the times is a story that I tell that people ask me about. Sometimes I've even spoken publicly, and people have asked about this. The time that the woman she couldn't get him to talk to her, so she went to his apartment while he was gone. Somehow she still had the key. She took his cat and left a note. If you want to see your cat again, come talk to me. He called the police because
Yeah.
that's something right there. I think he did get a restraining order, if I remember right, and they ended up getting back together for a little while. Now she did something else that completely sabotaged it, and that was the total last straw. And to be honest with you, I don't think he wanted to get back together anyway. It's a
She
long
ran over the dog.
story, long
She ran over
story,
the dog.
but it doesn't look good, and I hate to say that, but if you are to have any chance, you can never contact her again. It has to come from her. Any, even if it's been so long and she's lost some of that feeling of creepiness or stalker, the stalker mentality. She doesn't think of you that way anymore. Even if she's kind of over that, once you are the one to initiate, it usually resets that. And again, my experience is somewhat limited just because that's such a rare thing, but that's what I have seen. And so I
Yeah.
assume that that pattern will continue. Ken.
Yeah. No, I agree. One of the lone things you might have going in your favor is that you set a level of intensity that she's gotten used to. It's annoyed her and pushed her further away, but it's kind of like a version of pattern interruption. So now, if you do what you really don't have a choice to do anyway, but now completely stop. Like you've got all this momentum. Please, please, I want you back, please. So you're building up. I want you. I want you. Now you stop suddenly. We're not nearly as logical as we think. So logically, she'll be thinking, good, he finally left me alone. And she might think that initially, but ego is going to kind of make her wonder, even to a degree she won't want to tell people, well, I wonder if he still thinks about me. I wonder if he still misses me. So a little bit of, I don't want to say encouragement, because I'm not trying to give like false hope, but at the same time, me and Coach Lee heard of people, like he just said, you can recover from this, but I can't stress enough, you recover the first step, stay away. I mean, stay far away. And I will say, if she threatened you with it lightly, if you showed up like 2 times and you were crying because it caught you off guard and you didn't see it coming, and she pulls out a threat of a restraining order, I don't take that lightly on either side. If she needed it, stay away from her. If she didn't need to do it, stay away from her.
Yeah, if she did it just because she could to abuse you, to abuse the system, you're better off. You are so better off.
Yeah.
And this recording, by the way, this will be available immediately on my channel. So if you want to go back and hear some of these again, you can do that. Otherwise, Ken and I agreed beforehand, because he does have a sick wife he needs to attend to. That we are going to go ahead and call it here. But unanswered paid questions, just send to Coach Ken at dotheyloveme.com. And we want to do another one of these soon. We've taken a break for a while, but we're going to be doing them hopefully, if not every week, every other week. Appreciate you being here, and make sure you subscribe to Ken. And
Thanks, guys.
hopefully we'll see you next time, and look for a new video from me next week.
Always a
So,
blast talking with you, brother. Thanks.
all right, man. Everybody take care. Bye-bye.
Have a good night, guys.
Recording